Hi, my name is Brian Vaughn, Artistic Director here at the Utah Shakespeare Festival. We'd like to give you this special opportunity to watch our Romeo and Juliet tour, which was touring across the Intermountain West this year and was unfortunately cut short. But along with this video, you will also find a tremendous resource that includes talkbacks from the production, a director commentary, as well as a great link that provides you access to a bunch of workshops and improv games that are compiled by the actors from the production. It's a great resource. It's something that we usually include with the live production, and now you can have this in your classroom or at home to access anytime you like. So please enjoy this material, and please come see us this summer at the Utah Shakespeare Festival. Thanks so much.
Hello. My name is Jason Spellbring, and I am the director of this production of Romeo and Juliet here at the Utah Shakespeare Festival, Shakespeare-in-the-Schools tour program. And I get asked a couple of questions often, so I thought I would share those questions with you and just answer them here in this stream right now. The two questions, and they're interlinked, quite honestly, is why is it important to do Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet? And number two, why did we set it, or why did I set it in a classroom in 2020? I have always loved Romeo and Juliet. It is by far one of my favorite tragedies by William Shakespeare. And I think that right there in itself is an important reason to do it. A lot of times people find the romantic side of Romeo and Juliet, whether it be in the movies or in productions that students of this age have seen, where the romance and the love is really played. But what's true about this production and about Shakespeare's play is that it is a tragedy. So as a director, I've always wanted to find a way to make that theme very, very clear with our production here at the Utah Shakespeare Festival. And that leads into the reason why I set it in a classroom in 2020. Oftentimes, students don't see themselves in a production. They will go and see a live production of Romeo and Juliet, and they will be in tights or in big dresses or in huge balconies. And I thought, what is a good way for audiences, the high schools and middle schools that are seeing this production, what is a good way for them to see themselves? And I thought, what better way than to put it in a setting that they see every single day, which is a classroom. I was also very interested in mixing types. I love it when people see our production or photos of our production and they think they know who's playing what role. Because growing up reading Shakespeare in early productions I was in, I never really saw where I fit into the production of Romeo and Juliet. And I always thought, oh, I'll never play that role because I'm not like this. And what I really wanted our cast to do, and what this production does, is challenge what people think and really give them an opportunity to see themselves. The themes in Romeo and Juliet are love and passion and desire and hate and all those things we feel every single day as humans. And I wanted this classroom to be alive with those. And what better way than with a group of high school kids preparing for an English Lit review test of Romeo and Juliet. It was also important to me as a director to not change the content of the play or the conflict. So everything that you saw in this production is what Shakespeare wrote. So the fights are as written, the aggression, the weapons, the knives, all that stuff is what Shakespeare wrote over 400 years ago. And by putting it in a classroom and using what appear to be prescription pills, a knife or a weapon brought to school, the status changes of people in the classroom and how they treat each other are all things that we as a society see every day. And I just felt it was important to show that in a setting that our audience will connect with. It was amazing to have a group of actors that understood the concept and helped bring it to life. We were collaborative and communicative throughout the process, and I think that shows itself in the final product. So why Romeo and Juliet? Because it's a story that lives true today, 400 years later. And why in a classroom? Because it's a story that lives today, and it's in a setting that really does connect to our audience. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.
Okay, so we're going to begin our talkback now. So I will introduce myself. My name is Emily Cacho, and I am the company manager for the Utah Shakespeare Festival touring production of Romeo and Juliet. So how this usually works is that I ask the audience 3 questions first. So my first question is, how many of you think that the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet was preventable, and how could it have been prevented? The second question is, whose fault was it? Was it Tybalt? Was it Romeo, Juliet, Lord Capulet, Lady Capulet, Lord Montague? And why? And my final question is, Shakespeare can be set in many different time periods and locations. We happen to set our play in 2020 in a classroom. What were your thoughts about that, and what stood out to you specifically about this production? So we are waiting for one actor, but she will be right here. So we will start with Morena, and the actors will tell us who they are, where they're from, and who they play.
My name is Marina. I played Samson and Juliet, and I am from Las Vegas.
I'm Dane. I only played Romeo, and I'm from Logan, Utah.
I'm Trey. I played Mercutio, Friar Lawrence, and Montague, and I am from River Edge, New Jersey.
I'm Rachel. I played the nurse and the prince, and I'm from San Diego, California.
I'm Ian. I played Benvolio and Paris, and I'm from Arizona.
Hi, my name is Bailey Savage. I played Lord Capulet and Little Balthazar, and I am from Pullman, Washington.
Hi, my name is Kenna, and I played Tybalt, Lady Capulet, Peter, and Friar John, and I'm from San Francisco.
Great. So we have a bunch of frequently asked questions. So the first question is, how did the actors stay safe while fighting in the play?
I can talk about this. I am the fight captain, which means before every single show we have something called Fight Call that I run. We do all of the fights that you just saw at half speed and then at 3/4 speed. We never go 100% because it's not safe for the actors, and the audience can't really keep up if it's too fast. So in order to make sure that everyone understands what's going on and that the actors are safe, we only go up to 3/4 speed.
Great. Okay, the next question is, why did you replace the knife with the ruler during the fight?
I'll talk about that since I'm the one who does said thing. Okay, so the idea behind our production of Romeo and Juliet is that although Romeo and Juliet was written over 400 years ago, it deals with things that are very real for people of that age or people of any age in every single era. So we wanted to show that those high emotions that Romeo and Juliet and Tybalt and all those characters are going through are things that we go through in our real lives. And as those characters start to act irrationally, the students in the classroom start to act irrationally as well. So in that moment when Kenna's student pulls out a knife, it is suddenly we were play acting, we were play fighting, and then she brings out a real danger into the room because we have all got so caught up in the emotion. And I, as my student, call a halt to it. I take the knife away from her and I replace it with a ruler, basically saying, this is not real. We are pretending. This is a knife. We're not actually going to get in real danger.
That's great. Okay, the next question is, why is Lord Capulet so mean?
Why is Lord Capulet so mean? This is a frequently asked question. So contextually in the play, everything that Lord Capulet does is for the sake of his family's name. So he has spent his whole life cultivating essentially their brand, and a large part of that is making sure that Juliet is married to a man worthy of our family and worthy of her. So everything that Lord Cap has done is for the sake of his daughter, though you could argue that he's not necessarily a family man. And so when it comes to it, this all the tragedy with his nephew, with Tybalt, he just wants to make sure that Juliet is married off and married off well. So when she says no, it is his entire life work coming crashing down around him, and he cannot comprehend why she would say no in this scenario. And then for my student, obviously I'm not an older man with a family, and so to approach that and try to find that rage within the student playing this, father figure, I really had to find the rage within myself to access those emotions.
That's great. So a couple of lighter questions. I think everyone can answer this one. What started you acting? Like, what started this journey?
I'll start. I started acting when I was in second grade. I was in my first show in second grade, and then I was lucky enough to get to go to a performing arts middle school and high school, and then I majored in theater in college, and I just always had a fun time learning about new characters, getting to know new characters, and telling stories.
I've always been a nerd who loves stories. I used to write fan fiction all the time. So storytelling was something I always wanted to be a part of. And then I picked it up in high school. I was in a show, and I realized this is the only thing I'm good at. So I went to school for it.
My mom always told me that since I was young, I had the symptoms of being a performer. When I was 12, I started making sketch videos on YouTube. And then as I got older, I felt the need to make people laugh. I liked watching people on television that made me laugh. So I figured out that could be a viable career path, and here I am.
Sports made me cry, so I decided to do acting instead. I was in my first play when I was 6, and I did it kind of as a hobby throughout high school. And then I went to a community college, and I had a professor that told me that I could, and I believed her. So I went on to get 4 degrees in it, and now it's my career.
My grand debut was as Goblin number 1 in a lovely show called Horseshoe Hare Saves the Sun in 2nd grade. But then around 6th grade, I started doing community theater, and I essentially was like, I'll just do theater until I stop liking it. And it's been like 13 years, and I still like it, so here we are.
I'm actually a little late to the game. I have a degree in political science and theater arts, but I've always been a schmuck for a crowd. I hosted events and played my guitar at PTA meetings and lunches, and so I loved the energy of a crowd and trying to navigate that. While I like politics, but there's drama in politics and politics in drama, and I picked drama. So
I actually grew up playing sports. I did not do theater until I went to school for it. I basically just grew up watching old Hollywood movies, and I loved that, and I was like, that seems like something that's really, really fun. Like, let's try it. And then I did, and I loved it, and here we are. So
That's great. So some of you answered the question that I'm about to ask, but there's also another one. Are you guys in college, and do you get paid for this experience?
I mean, we could just have one person answer it.
Yeah,
I'm talking.
just someone.
Yes, we do get paid for it. We have all graduated except for Kenna, who will be graduating in the summer. But yes, we are getting paid for this.
Great. Okay, so back to the play. Another question is, why didn't Romeo and Juliet just run away?
Boy. I think it's interesting because we talked about there's a lot of this play is just compounding emotions. It's a roller coaster going off the rails. It's people not thinking things through. I think to them, they did what their emotional states told them was the only thing they could do, which sometimes, most of the time, isn't always true.
Okay. I think multiple people can answer this next question. What was it like playing both high school students and the characters in Romeo and Juliet in the play?
I kind of touched on it for a second, just trying to balance the differences between the life experience, and approaching this as high schoolers. Our director, Jason Spellbring, at the very beginning talked to us about not coming at this with anything but the tools that we have at our disposal. And I think trying to find that balance and trying to find the why behind a lot of the actions that our Romeo and Juliet characters take versus our students take and the paths that lead there. I think that was a big challenge for me.
Mm-hmm. I would say it's hard to fit within a teenage girl, like the character of a teenage girl, an older woman who has lost a husband and a child, and a man in charge of a city. So what I focused on was like, yes, I don't know what it's like to lose a child. I don't know what it's like to lose a husband, but I know what it's like to lose a friend. I know what it's like to lose a family member. So I took those experiences and kind of used it as a way in.
Great. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
I think for a lot of us, we created backstories as well for our students as to why we would cast ourselves as the role in Romeo and Juliet that we take on, or just to help motivate our choices. And so for me, I had like a whole backstory kind of created as to why I would bring this knife to school and why it was in my bag. And I felt like that helped motivate my choices later in the play. And that also helped me differentiate between like, why is my student doing this versus why is Tybalt or Peter doing these things. And so kind of like molding those together in a way helped make it clearer for me.
Okay, so the second to last question is, what was your favorite part in the play, and what was your favorite part in touring, going on tour? I think everyone can answer it.
Down the line.
Yeah. I really like the "Come Night, Come Romeo" monologue, but I also really like, and it's the audience doesn't really see it, but there's so many specific little things that are like, I have to use this prop in this scene, which means that 2 scenes before now it has to be put in this place. And I just think that's really cool. And my favorite part of touring is that this is my only job, and I don't have to worry about having another day job.
I think my favorite moment in the play is the stretch of scenes after we say farewell, and then it's the whole Lord Capulet scene, and there's all that drama. I just think that's a part that never stood out to me before any version of Romeo and Juliet I'd seen, but now, like, for me, that's like the highlight. As far as tour, yeah, it's nice to not have to be in charge. But I also like being around a group of people all day, every day, and I like that we all like each other. I like that they are obligated to talk to me.
That did not sound good.
My favorite part of the show is dying. It's a lot of fun. I like it. I had it's complicated to die on stage, and I enjoyed the challenge.
Try doing it twice.
Yeah. My favorite part of touring, I think, is seeing all the different kinds of people around the Southwest of the United States. I loved teaching the improv workshops because I love seeing what makes people laugh. I think laughter is the window to someone's soul. So it's telling a lot about a community to see what they themselves think is so funny. And I liked sharing the tools to do that with them.
My favorite part of the show is watching how it evolves every night. The script is always the same, our blocking is always the same, but the nuance that my scene partners bring to it can change from night to night, and sometimes it makes me laugh, and I enjoy it. And then my favorite part of touring are these guys. They're really nice, and they make me happy.
My favorite part of the show is, since we were supposed to be teenagers in high school, we were given a lot of freedom to like interpret it as a teenager would, and especially when we're all watching the scenes. That we had a lot of freedom to just react as we would have when we were back in high school, and that was very fun. I liked everything about touring. It was very great. Probably my favorite part is, as many people have said, this group of people, these 8 people here, and the 2 people who you can't see on camera, they are wonderful, and they're great to be around.
My favorite part of the show, Romeo and Juliet is so good, just as a script. But my favorite part of the show is getting the chance to yell. I'm not really a person who accesses those emotions all the time, and so to be able to channel that every day, and it's not always the same, and the feelings behind it are different, and I would say that's fun too. Like Rachel said, we sometimes have done the show at like 9 in the morning and then do another one right after, and so to find your emotions and still find that drive, I think is so fun. My favorite part of touring, I'm Chicago based, and so I'm pretty much stuck on buses and trains all day, and so it has been so nice to just drive around the country and see things and people and sing songs with my friends.
My favorite part of the show is pretty obvious. I like all the fight scenes. I found in this production that I love stage combat, and this is the first time I've ever got to use it in a show. So I love every single moment of that. And then my favorite part of touring, you guys stole all of my answers. I love being able to bring this show to multiple different audiences. I love that we have been in schools and we perform for high schoolers, but I also love that we perform for communities, and we have an opportunity to talk about this amazing production and the reason that it's set in the time that it is, and just be able to talk about it with many different people and hear their takes on it is really, really special.
That's great. Okay, so the last question is about the ending. What does it mean? Why did you erase the whiteboard?
What I like about this ending is, we even in talkbacks before, we've gotten a couple of different interpretations, and I think they're all valid. For me, what stands out is the underlining of a like and the ... I realized, actually pretty late in the game, but that moment, because we talk about this play and we talk about how it's about like the Capulets versus the Montagues, and it's a societal thing, and about how you shouldn't hate each other, which is true. But what I like about this is it hones it down to even interpersonal stuff. So for me, my student, he actually took those pills, not really knowing for sure what they were going to do, thinking he might not wake up in a minute. And Juliet's student had the real knife and almost used it on herself. And so for me, character-wise, it's a moment of realization that, oh, other people are going through what I'm going through. Like, we don't really know for sure what anybody is going through. I mean, Kenna's student brought a knife to school. And the underlining is just the emphasizing of that, and the ... is maybe, there can be something else. And, my thought is at the end is that when she takes my hand and we walk off, we are going to the counselor's office. Yeah. Which, it's a lot of people feel shame about needing to ask for help, but there is no shame in that. So.
Great.
2 cents.
Great. Thank you so much. So to end this, I just want to thank Jackie and Colin, who are up there in our booth, our production staff, our wonderful camera people, and of course you, the audience, wherever you may be watching this. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.